Hey guys, Video Psych here. I'll just try to change the light up a bit. Ugh, that's a little bit better at least. But of course, this video is about forgiveness. Now, I might not be a Christian anymore. I haven't been a Christian since I was a teenager, so to speak. I mean, I can't name exactly what age I was when I wasn't really Christian anymore, but one day I just realized I wasn't Christian anymore. you know? Good evening. Or night, as you can tell behind me. But moving on from that. And, I made this video because I just see so many people on the internet who always are just in such a negative attitude. And they never seem to try to move on from what has happened to them, so to speak. I mean, just like I would say all of the negativity I see from all of the doll owners that I've seen on here that will say bad things about women. They'll be like, "Oh, I have a love doll because women suck," basically, or their exes suck, so now I have a doll, or blah blah blah, or they rejected me, so now I'm gonna try and return that favor by getting a love doll and make them pissed off. But moving on from that, in short, you know, just think, you know, where is your life going from here? Is basically what I'm trying to say. And that's the point where, eventually you have to kind of overcome it and you've got to forgive and forget whatever has happened to you. Of course, you don't have to say what has happened to you on my channel or whatever. That's not what I'm looking for. Although, if any of you actually wanted to state at least one thing that you've kind of had to overcome and forgive over time, go ahead, I guess. But I would say the thing that has wronged me the most growing up, I mean, even to this day, even now, since it's been, I would say, over 10 years now, is the school system. And I say over 10 years ago because at one point I did go to college for welding. And I did make a video about that before. You can maybe look into it. But I would say that was the thing that broke the camel's back for me after going to, college. Because when we took that class, before we took that class, they even told my father that it was like supposed to be this advanced welding class or whatever before I started taking a class. But of course, as I had come in, it turned out that it was kind of a crappy class that only taught you how to pass a test, basically. There were so many things that they didn't teach me, but I already talked about that before, so I won't get too into it. But even before then, there was even a time when I had even gone back to the original school that actually said I was handicapped in the first place. And I was there for the last year and a half of my, high school, from junior to senior year. And I gotta say, it was actually kind of a weird experience, even seeing some of the people that I knew in the past, and just seeing all of the shit that they were able to get away with. Because when I was homeschooled, when it got to the point where I was homeschooled, I couldn't really hardly get away with anything. And I was pretty much always just stuck in, the house that we lived in, which was a small mansion. And because of the fact that we had just moved in the town that we moved in, when we had become homeschooled, we knew nobody in town. And so, yeah, that was very isolating and short for 4.5 years. And then, so coming back to the school that, said I was handicapped in the first place after managing to prove that I was not handicapped, and I was able to get back into the school with the regular kids again and take classes with them again, not just be in special ed. I just thought, wow, just look at these idiots. Because I damn near had to become like what, at least 5 times smarter than them, probably just so I could get back into the same classes with them. And just seeing all this shit that they would just get away with. All the shit that they would just get away with. I mean, not everybody. Not a skin. But anyway. But of course, what I'm trying to say is, even after all of that shit that school system, the school system in general has put me through, I'm able to forgive, the school system, and I'm able to move on. I don't have this anger all the time anymore. You know what I mean? And, just some of the things that I see the people on the internet do is not really something that helps. They need to work, they need to be able to work on just moving on versus, trying to I would say flush it out in the way that they're doing. Or they also probably just need somebody to talk to. Besides, I would say the people that probably don't care on the internet. No offense to you, but kind of like this video right now. But you know, even after all that bullshit that the school system has put me through ever since I was a teenager till even I was a young guy in my 20s, all that shit, you just have to kind of forgive it and you have to kind of move on. Though I will say this much, at that time when I actually had worked at a place and I was apparently expected to know how to do the stuff that I was supposed to do, even though ahead of time I was actually told that I was supposed to be taught how to do things and get training, which they didn't really give that much of, apparently. It was just frustrating because I'm thinking to myself that this whole school system is just one big fat joke. I could have just learned better completely by myself how to become a welder from the welding class that I took. I could have taught myself way better than they taught me. I could have learned a lot more by myself than they taught me in that class. It is just nuts. All the shit that they did not teach me in that class. It really is baffling. Also because of how much that class costed too. It was not a cheap class. I mean, going to college in general is just not cheap. If you even take a few classes, sometimes you get stuck with like a hefty loan sometimes. I've seen it with some people sometimes after they go to college. It really is ridiculous. And so after that happened, it broke the camel's back for me. And I seriously needed a break. It's like, man, I keep on getting A's in these classes. I keep on doing this. I keep on doing what I'm told. And yet, when it gets to the point where I'm going into these workplaces and I'm trying to work with these people, they don't want to work with me, or they don't teach me everything and they keep on making excuses. At the time, I just had enough. I basically just hated the school system at the time because of it. Now, what I'm not trying to say something like I blame the school system for my failures, because in the end, I actually still succeeded. But what I'm saying is that the school system did not make it easy. It did not make it easier for me as advertised. The school system did, if anything, made it even harder for me. It was just keeping me back, I realized, growing up. And, at that point, I realized that I needed to move on and do something different. Now, I kind of did my best to make that story short for you guys, and I'm sorry if that was a bit long, but I think you guys get my points. I'm trying to show you guys, how much stress I went through growing up. It really was a shitty time period. Although, of course, like I said, nowadays I'm actually doing a lot better and I'm doing just fine, but you never know what will happen in the future. But anyway, and that's another thing, is just kind of give yourself a break if you can. Just give yourself a bit of a break and just kind of process what's been going on. And maybe that's not always the case for everybody, but that's, for somebody like myself, I've needed to take a break and just take everything in. Of course, there was a lot of kids growing up when I was younger. They were being taught to just get into these careers right away, even though they're in their early 20s. And if you want to do that, go ahead. But the truth of the matter is that you could actually get into these careers whenever you want, by the way. And it's crazy because they still teach kids this to this day. Like, they need to teach kids how to relax. Just chill the fuck out. You don't have to get into these careers right away. You don't have to do this and that right away. You don't have to get laid before you're 18. I mean, geez. They just put so much damn pressure on kids, especially nowadays. And I'm not just saying that because I'm just saying it because they really do give theoretically more pressure to kids now than they ever have, actually. And I know this because I used to look into this stuff quite a bit, actually, and I still sometimes do. They really do give our younger generations nowadays a lot of shit. I mean, especially with the way that they're talking about kids now about, being a failure. They're talking about Generation Z, like why Generation Z is now failing. And, you know, just because you're not working for like a corporate job doesn't mean that you failed. And no, not everybody can be in a corporate office. And because, for one, they only have so many offices for these people. You can only have so many people fighting for one to three positions, is basically what I'm trying to say here. What people really need to focus on is the other things that you can do besides working for a corporate job or just any job in general that just focuses on trying to achieve somebody else's goal versus your own. Now, of course, if you do want to work for somebody and get paid under them, of course, go ahead if you're fine with that. But the fact of the matter is, you're working to make their dreams come true, not yours. And of course, in this video, I'm telling you things that a lot of grown-ups are not telling kids now. And I do, besides the fact that I guess maybe they're just trying to make them fail or something. I don't know why they're not telling kids this. Just tell kids the truth. And I understand that parents want their kids to go to work and be successful, but this is just not the way to do it. If anything, in some areas, is actually just making it worse. Let your kids go out and experience the world. Let them go out and experience their interests. I mean, currently, right now, most successful people that got to that point have never even been to college a single day in their entire life. They never ever went to college. Ever. In fact, I actually think it's ironic how some places are starting to make it to where you have to go to college in order to work for them because information has never been more accessible over the internet. I could some of these classes for the college, I don't even have to take anymore. I could just look them up. I could just look up information on the internet through legit sources. It's just nuts. Why do we have this rule that we have to go to college when we have so much accessible information? Some of these classes aren't even here for much for a reason anymore. They're just there because just a community thing. That's it. But, of course, enough about that. And I'm sorry I went off there, but man, it's just crazy. It's just so full of shit. And of course, if you've ever gone through something like that, just kind of forgive and let go. To times like that. Because, you really do only have one life. And if you just spend that, just going over the past and bringing up the past like this over and over again, it just makes your life more stressful, is all it does. That's all it ever does. Just forgive and let go. And with that, I'll just end the video. I won't talk anymore. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.